you know what? The law is good. Anybody who criticizes Israel, you know what? Don't even just fire them. Don't even just not give them hurricane relief. Kill them. Prager University is really epic. I used to be a big PragerU fan, and the epic part, what's really cool about them is they do this thing where they pack their entire YouTube page full of totally normie presenting, American, conservative, conventional ideas like, why there should be no minimum wage, why corporations should have sex with your wife while you watch, why, Amazon has a right to cut off its employees' heads if they take too much time on a bathroom break, why, all these, pretty normal, conventional Republican talking points. And then in between all those ones where, maybe a Turning Point or a Yale-type conservative can say, okay, yeah, I like that. They're pro-free market, they're pro-traditional values, so on. And then the really cool thing, what they do is they wedge into that just these little, very subtle videos like, why Israel should crush all their enemies, why Israel should nuke the world if they feel a little bit threatened. And this is something that I was aware of even when I was sort of a normie, libertarian kind of conservative. When I was in high school, I'd be browsing the PragerU channel back when I was like a Milton Friedman guy. And I'd be looking, why the minimum wage should go away, why America's exceptional, blah, blah. And sure enough, every 3 or 4 videos, there'll be another one, why Hezbollah is evil. And then, 4 videos, why Israel has a right to exist. And then 4 videos, then we have one like the latest video. Why does America spend so much on Israel? Really fantastic video. That's the title. The description reads, get this, I think you might be surprised at the angle they're going to take with this one. The Dennis Prager is going to take with this one. The description for the video says, quote, with so much that must be done at home in the United States, like the opioid epidemic and wages are stagnant and, people are killing themselves, life expectancy is going down, education's in the toilet, crime is horrible, illegal immigration's happening, we don't have a secure border. So, those kinds of things. With so much that must be done at home in America, why does America send so much of its resources to Israel? This is the description. It's a fair question. But according to U.S. General Chuck Wald, military man, my favorite, America doesn't spend enough on Israel. America doesn't spend enough. Watch to understand why. And you watch the video, and this is really just rich and fascinating. The same people that tell us, well, we've got to really cut down on government waste. We've really got to work to shore up our deficit. We've got to work to shore up the debt. You'll have these little beady-eyed bug people like Ben Shapiro, these little subversive transnational people like Ben Shapiro. They'll come on their podcast and do the smarmy little bit where they say, it's good Trump versus bad Trump. When Trump cuts taxes for big corporations, when Trump deregulates for Jewish corporations, good Trump, good guy. And then when Trump does something bad, like tries to help Americans with money for opioid epidemic, no, bad Trump, that's government overreach. And so the same conservatives that are so budget hawkish, that are so pro-free market, we really got to cut down the deficit, that's the biggest problem. $38 billion. For Israel. Now, the wall costs 17, 25 for the whole package, but 17 for the wall. $38 billion for 10 years. General Chuck Wald says not only is that justified, $38 billion, but we should front load it. So, and by the way, we already front loaded in the sense that we give $3.8 billion a year at the beginning of the year. So other countries, they get their aid dispersed over the year. We give it all at the beginning of the year, and it's this really cool thing that we do. We give it all to them in a lump sum at the beginning of the year. We give it to them as a loan, and then we cancel the loan because, if we were to give it as a grant, we would have to oversee how the money is spent. This way we can give them the money, say, you know what, we're going to forgive the loan. So it's a technicality that we could give them the money. They could do whatever they want with it. And we give that loan at the beginning of the year in full so that they can then take the money and buy U.S. Treasury notes and make interest off the money we give them. So that's kind of a cool thing that they do. I think this is the high IQ. This is a really smart thing that they do where we give them a loan and then pay interest on the loan that we give them. So we give them the principal. They use the principal to buy treasury notes. We forgive the loan, and then we pay them the interest on that, and every year. So Chuck Wald says, that's not good enough. No. but we can still do more for the missiles. We can still do more to help secure the Jewish people. We should front load the $38 billion and then give more. So we should give maybe like $5 billion this year, maybe $7 billion next year, and have it diminish over time so that, maybe in like 5 years, then we can give another contract. We could give more money. And it's fascinating to me because the reason he gives for why we should give all this money to the country, it's the same Will Chamberlain argument. I've debated a lot of people on this subject. Jacob Wool, Will Chamberlain, Aaron Bandler, I believe one other. And the same point is always raised. Well, we give them all this money, but they buy American planes with it. They buy equipment with it. So actually, even though we give the money to them and they make interest and we're giving them tons and tons of money, but they're using it to buy American-made arms, so it's stimulating the American economy. And I say, that's actually a really good point. But here's something maybe you didn't think of. What if we just kept the money? What if we just, it's like when you get a paycheck, you get paid what? When I was working at UPS, I made $150 a week. Okay, you get paid $150 for the week. You can give your whole paycheck to me, and then I'll give you $100 back. So even you're helping me, and also you're getting the money back anyway. Well, hold up. What if I just kept the money? So that's kind of silly, but he's got more arguments. He says, quote, I can easily defend why America supports Israel on moral grounds alone. This is his justification on moral grounds. I've been there on numerous occasions. It's a good and decent country. Given the neighborhood it lives in, I find that both remarkable and admirable. Oh, okay. Good and decent. $38 billion for you. Hey, good and decent. And, you got it really rough. You're in a rough neighborhood. Here's $38 billion. Well, that's kind of interesting. When I move out, I'm not a rich guy. When I move out of the house, I'll probably have to move into a rough neighborhood. I'm kind of a good and decent guy. I'm a pretty good guy. I'm a pretty groovy guy. If I move into a rough neighborhood, like a black neighborhood or something, am I going to get money from Israel? Am I going to get money from the government? Hey, can I get $1 million from the government? I'm a good and decent guy living in a rough neighborhood. It's moral grounds. Can I get $1 million from the government, please? Can I get a million from a Jewish bank, $1 million from the San Francisco Jewish Federation? Can I get a little bit of coin there? Come on, on poll, they forged my 23andMe and said I had Sephardic DNA. Is that good enough? Can I? Probably not. And, all of this is to say, the go-off juice, enough is enough with this stuff. The right has to move forward. We cannot be party to this nonsense. This is ridiculous anymore. The right must be nationalist. The right must be America first. Now, in other countries, I'll give a little bit more leeway. In Brazil, Bolsonaro was very pro-Israel. In Italy, Salvini's very pro-Israel. I'll give a little bit of leeway for them because Brazil does not have the biggest military in the world. Italy does not have $4 trillion in tax revenue every year. When the Zionists go to Brazil and Italy, really, what is there to gain for them? There's a lot that the Zionists give, and what does Brazil give? We're going to do something with our embassy that's over there. Who cares, right? But when the Zionists are in America, they are, in an indirect way, wielding the full might of the American military-industrial complex. They're wielding the full might of the American taxpayer and the American economy. So sure, Brazil might give some chump change to that country, or we might move around an embassy, and Italy might pay lip service and do a trip now and then. But that's sort of, it's not the best thing in the world, but it's not the end of the world. But when these people come over here, and you clearly see what happens, and they start these publications and lobbying firms, and they do this thing with media, and they pass laws, clearly, it's a little bit different. America has big power. America has big responsibilities. Enough is enough. Time to keep these people out. And it's shocking to me how the rank and file of conservatives can go along with it. I get evangelicals are like brainwashed by the Schofield Bible or whatever, and they have this perverted and warped belief that, Israel, the modern state of Israel, is somehow connected to the Bible, and so we have to be really nice to them, and we have to give them, no matter what they do to us, we have to give them money. But the Israelis don't care for evangelicals. If you look at any of the opinion polling in terms of religions and their preferences for other religious groups, the highest rating that one religious group has given to another religious group, you might be surprised to hear this, Jews to other Jews. The least favorable rating from one religion to another religion is Jews' rating of evangelicals. So isn't that kind of interesting? So the evangelicals, they love the Zionists. They love them. They give them very high marks. This is not reciprocated. In fact, it's quite the opposite. They have very low ratings. And we see this kind of thing that happens all day long. And so that's our country. We just, I guess, got to go along to get along. I often ask myself, should I just taken the trip to Israel? Would I have had a better life? Perhaps I could have. Perhaps I'd be a little bit more wealthy. Perhaps I wouldn't have to deal with the Nealon, Little, Spencer Brigade. I could just kind of ignore them safely like Cassie Dillon and others do. But this is the world that we live in, and I don't think that's the way it should be. Hopefully we'll see some resistance to this, but honestly, I said this last week, everybody got all bent out of shape. It's not likely, because Prager University, Breitbart, CRTV / The Blaze, The Rebel. I mean, you look at every major right-wing online media source, and it's either run by Jewish Zionists, in the case of all of those groups, or it's run by people sympathetic to Jewish Zionists, in the case of Fox News, The Caller, whatever. All two of them, right? The Examiner, so three, right? Three that are exempt. But they're still under heavy influence. And the right-wing movement in America, we cannot abide this hypocrisy any longer. The inconsistency is glaring. The betrayal of values is glaring. And this is really, I think, where our kind of movement is going to, if it's allowed to, take off. If we're able to have access to social media, if we're able to have access to these channels, because it's true and it's obvious for anybody to see. It's getting increasingly obvious. Because we're pushing the truth, I think it'll begin to resonate with a lot more people. Because this America First nationalist kind of program, there is only so much that the Zionists can do to kind of pretend and give that lip service and say, well, what we mean by that is civic nationalism. What we mean by that is our values. And this doesn't contradict our view of, American imperialism for Israel and the Middle East and all this other stuff. Eventually, people are going to see the fact that, the reason this country exists is as a homeland for their people. The reason that country exists is so that if things go awry in other places, because Jews are a global minority and they're a minority in every other country, they'll have a place to escape to. Well, people are going to start to ask, as things start to look not so good for our own people, where's the homeland for whites? Where's the homeland when we get to retreat to? For us, that's anathema to say that in public. That's white nationalism. God forbid you come out as a white nationalist. For them, it's Zionism. To criticize Zionism is now against the law. To be in favor of white nationalism is in a de facto way against the law. And I think people are going to start to get tired of that, hopefully. But so that's our development here with what a great law. And you know what? I actually like it. I think I'm actually coming around to it. You know what? I think I see Chuck Wald's point. They're good and decent people. I changed my mind. I love them. My on-the-record position for Jared Holt and for the ADL and the SPLC and for YouTube is, you know what? The law is good. Anybody who criticizes Israel, you know what? Don't even just fire them. Don't even just not give them hurricane relief. Kill them. Arrest them and kill them. I think I want to see that happen from now on. I don't think the law goes far enough, actually. Yeah, I'm a real Tea Partier. I'm a real rock-ripped conservative. I watch Rant Nation on CRTV. I'm watching Rant Nation boldly. Actually, I know it might not be politically correct, but if you oppose the state of Israel, I think you should get your head chopped off. I think you should get your brain chopped in half. With maybe they should just shoot you with an anti-aircraft gun or something in public in like a football stadium. And that way, we'll just make an example of all these anti-Semites out there. They're always on the rise doing the swastika thing. They're like on the verge of taking over the country and doing another Holocaust. It's urgent that we make an example of them, that we won't tolerate them, these people. So what we're going to do, the next time I hear anti-Israel sentiment in the comments of this video, if you're commenting anti-Israel things, we're gonna find you. We're going to dox you. The Mossad will find you. Don't even try VPN, anything like that. We already know where you live. we're going to arrest you. We're going to lock you up, okay? We're going to put you in jail, turn you into a tranny like that whistleblower, like Chelsea Manning, like Bradley Manning. We're going to mess with your brain. We're going to let you out. You're going to totally self-destruct and do the picture hanging over the ledge. And then we're going to capture you in a net. We're going to execute you in a football stadium and broadcast it worldwide. I think then finally we'll be rid of the anti-Semitic movement. So that's my official position. But moving on here,